Good morning again, wherever you are. Now it's time for the official Monday Minute. I'm Christian Paul. I hope you can hear me okay. I don't have my headset. Obviously, I'm at an airport. Now, fortunately, I do have a little bit of a flight delay, so we have plenty of time to do the minute. But we had a travel time delay getting here, and that kind of screwed up our usual 10 o'clock Central Time. What are we going to talk about today? I got two things today. We're going to do the Florida recap today. Now, I was at a private location just a little bit outside of Spring Hill. I have been working this case remotely for about a year now. Definitely an active location. And it seems to be, from what I've seen, a multi-level location. Where are we going to start? Now, if you've been following any of the posts on the page, I started by doing a spirit session up at the client's front gate. There is a camera at the front gate that has picked up several things. There was one or two recordings I've heard that actually sounded like people arguing at the front gate, but there's nobody at the front gate. Did a session there, the very first thing across the DR60, get out. Alrighty, we did a little more out there. The owner of the property came out, opened the gate, let me in, started describing what was going on the property. This property is in, how can I describe this? Kind of a horse country area. There are sections of Florida, and I'm not talking along the coast and beaches and all that nonsense. If you've been to Florida, but you've never traveled outside of the beach areas or the main cities, Florida has got a different flavor in a lot of spots. There are places where I would say you could have just a whole row of like 5-acre parcels with a house and a barn, and people got horses and yada, 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 yada. Well, now my client does not have horses, but he's still got a horse barn. So this was previously an area with horses. Now my client does have 4 dogs, some cats, and a whole bunch of chickens running around. There have been ghost lights on this property. I posted one video on that, and if you go on the YouTube channel, you will see the demon lights video. Same location. Now, when I posted that video, all kind of people were like, well, yeah, somebody drove up with a car from back there, somebody drove up on an ATV from back there, somebody this, somebody that. Well, now, seeing that I was at the location, a car, an ATV, not possible. Not possible. I did take some pictures, and I'll get some of those up when I get back to town. From that point, we went around the back to the barn. As I recall, maybe room for 4 horses, maybe 5, I don't remember exactly. And there's a tack room that he's using for some storage. Did a session in there. A different voice telling me, get out. From there, we went on to the house, did several sessions throughout the house, and got answers on every session. Granted, a ton to be decoded, but a lot of full sentence answers. So we have some homework to do. I'm hoping to get this client some answers. You know, as I look at the property, now I know some people, if you're already thinking it, I already know, I can feel it. Oh, the Indians maybe lived there, blah, blah, blah. No. There's no water source, like a river or a spring, near the property. The nearest water source where there was documented Indian history is like 2-3 miles away. Okay? I had even wondered at one point, was there maybe some kind of battle there? Now, there have been some battles in the past between white settlers and the Seminole Indians, which actually I learned a little bit of history on this weekend, but I'll get into that a little later in the broadcast today. Anything on the property in terms of putting in fence posts, planting trees, digging a swimming pool, none of that. No artifacts have ever been found. None. Now, very interesting, my client's boss was staying at his house one evening. Due to the fact that where he is, I don't think there's a hotel around for quite a distance, but it's a big enough house, so there's, spare rooms. And even the client's boss asked, what were those lights shining through the window in the middle of the night? Well, my client told her, well, there's an airport a couple miles away. That's a plane coming in for a landing. Was it a lie? Sure enough, was. But, and not that I condone lying, but you don't want to be freaking your boss out as they're staying in your house. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on from there. I have got 30 questions on the DR60 from that location. All 30 have got answers, and the majority of which were full sentence answers. So stay tuned on that. It's going to be interesting. I will share as much of that as I possibly can and still keep my clients' anonymity. All right. Let's move on to yesterday. The Chinsegut Hill historical site. Now, this is a very long and drawn-out, how can I say this? I took a tour there yesterday in the main building. If you look on the page, there's that picture of that big house. That's the house. To get history of the house in the area. But you're you're able to roam the grounds as you like. Okay? There's a family plot on the ground. There is an area on the grounds where former enslaved people live. So I thought two main parts for doing of sessions would be around the family plot and around the area where the enslaved people lived. This farm, now this was not a plantation, this was a farm way back when. At one time was 3,000 acres. 3,000. That's bigger than some of the towns some of our followers live in. 3,000 acres, that's a lot. You definitely need to be on horseback at least to cover that in a day. You don't want to have to walk that, especially in the Florida heat in the summertime when the humidity is like 99.99. Sorry about that. A little announcement at the airport here. Anyway, I worked the area around the family plot for a while. Definitely got some good responses on the DR60. Went over to the section of the property where a lot of the enslaved inhabitants were, and from records, I believe, as I recall, there was 30 enslaved people there. At the time of the record, about half of them were age 15 or younger. That being here nor there. But I definitely got some pretty strong and emotional responses to some questioning in that area. So it's going to be very interesting to review that. Now, I did do a post on our page, and I duplicated the post on the Haunted Florida page. And if anybody from Haunted Florida gets to listen to today's broadcast, welcome. And I had posted that I was doing the investigation on the low. Now, some of you that know me, you know what an investigation on the low is. But for those of you that don't, I will elaborate. An investigation on the low is doing an investigation on a property that, how shall I say, may not necessarily allow investigations. I had one person from the Haunted Florida page ask, how did you get permission to do that? They don't allow investigations. Permission? What? Give me a camera, give me a DR60. That's all I need. Doing it the way I was doing it, I just looked like a tourist. I didn't raise any commotion. And I tell you, one thing was nice about yesterday is even though it was open, it was a Sunday afternoon, very few people there. So really no human interference. And no kids there. Now, I don't have anything against kids. I was one once. You know that? Granted, that was a very long time ago. But, yeah, I was a kid at one time. So So there was no running around and screaming and crying and all that nonsense. As I toured the property, on the other side of the property, I found some cabins that were built. I think they were built by CCC. For those of you that don't know what CCC is, that's the Civilian Conservation Corps. My uncle, one of my uncles, who passed away at the age of 98, during a Packer game, actually. They were losing. I don't know. The Packers losing probably killed them. Maybe. I don't know. But there was a program set up by the government to basically employ people after the Depression. So they did all these kind of So anyway, they were trying to make work for the civilian populace. And we went over there and checked that out. And I do have a clip of some of those cabins on the page. You can check that out. Also, just a reminder, if you missed the Monday Minute Live, it'll be on Facebook for a little while. But usually within 24 hours, it will be on the YouTube page, so you can watch the Monday Minute in its entirety at any time on YouTube. This will be on YouTube by tomorrow. Anyway, so that is investigating on the whole. My Sony DSC-9, my DR60. I don't need anything else. The Spirit's going to communicate. They're going to communicate with me with what I have, and they always do. I have got a crap ton to review, as always. And we're still working on Keysburg, Illinois. Dennis has had some really great finds on some of his body cams that he's captured. I've had some. Basically, he's been sending me clips, and I've been working his clips, and most of them have been very good. And I've got, I think, 5 or 6 that I haven't even looked at yet. So I'll try to get some of those. But my main focus right now is helping the client on the private case. Obviously, I cannot disclose names or exact location. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. And we're going to try to get this figured out for this client so he can have peace in his own home. That being said, this has been the Monday Minute. Be good to each other. I let that sink in for a minute now. Be good to each other. And that being said, peace!